Hey now, that's not the personal word of the day. Today is Wednesday, July 17th, 2024. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on. Go play. And then my favorite line is, hey now, you're a rock star. Get your game on. Get paid. All-Star game last night. A lot of people watched it, I assume. I think it probably get back with 7-8 million people. I think more people may have watched it. More people read about it. Doesn't count people following on Twitter, looking at some video clips. A lot went on last night at Major League Baseball's All-Star Game, which continues to be the best All-Star game out of all the major sports. I have no doubt about that. A few tweaks here and there, recognizing that the 3-batter minimum rule is not necessary, so you can bring a pitcher in for 2/3, send him out, bring in another pitcher. How about the parade of pitchers blowing 100? I think if you don't throw 100 now, you stink. The American League prevailed over the National League for what seems like the millionth straight time other than last year. The first inning was the moment. Actually, the first moment that I was looking for is who was going to do the anthem and whether or not it was going to be a good anthem. And it turns out that it was a good anthem. It also turns out yesterday, which I'm sure you saw, that absolute nightmare of an anthem during the home run derby done by Ingrid Andress. It turns out, much like someone who gets caught doing something, she admitted she was drunk during the anthem, which makes her the Rolling Stones or 3 million other bands and performing artists. No, but she said, I'm not going to BS y'all. I was drunk last night. Hell yeah. So she said, I'm going to check myself into a facility today to get the help I need. Of course, what makes me smile about this mea culpa, only forced by the wave of viral bad publicity, the anti-P.T. Barnum scenario here. If she had sang well, you think she was ready to go to rehab? No chance, toilet pants. She sang badly, so said, well, I got to say why I sang badly. It's not because I have a bad voice. It's not because my earpiece fell out, which would have been a much better excuse. Hey, I couldn't hear myself. Sorry, I was out of pitch. No, record label won't let her say that. She should be able to keep a pitch even without the earpiece, even without the return. All right, what else should we say? Can we say that she's sick? Well, we could, but that may be a problem because people have been around her. No, she's not sick. How about drunk? Yeah, let's do that. Just go to rehab 28 days. Check out Sandra Bullock. Maybe you'll see Dom West. Maybe the pirate Air from Dodgeball. If you know, you know. That's a great movie. That is a great movie. Was that the story of the All-Star Game? Don't let it be. I think Paul Skeens has to be the story of the All-Star Game. The other story of the All-Star Game is, how in the heck did MLB let that woman take the mound to do the anthem? You know, there's people in charge of all that. Special events is a department at MLB. They're with the artists who are doing the anthem, the first pitch. They have it all organized. There's green rooms and pink rooms and red rooms and food and water. There's people checking on you all the time. Even the team president comes down. Hey, we good? Everything fine? Sound check happens. Rehearsals happen. Maybe no one could pick up the fact that she was hammered. MLB is definitely picking up the fact that Paul Skeens and his girlfriend are a story. I can't imagine why Livy Dunn is a story. She has 13 million social media followers. She has NIL deals worth about almost $4 million, which is why she's returning to LSU as a fifth-year gymnast. Thank you, COVID, for that extra year of eligibility. She's got to be more famous than Paul Skeens, maybe until yesterday, when he took the world stage in the first inning and we got to see him face Judge exactly as we said we wanted to see. We were hoping Judge would hit third and it would guarantee that he'd see him. It turns out that Skeens had to walk Soto just to get to Judge. Soto had promised pregame or the day before, hey, don't you worry, Aaron. You will get an at-bat against Skeens. Soto walks. Judge comes up. It's this moment in baseball that we crave We've been waiting for it. Judge digs in, Skeens ready to throw a $1-2 or a $1-3. It's the All-Star game. It's the first inning. Will Judge go deep, or will we all rise for a K? The tension mounts as he walks into the batter's box, digs in. First pitch, he rolls it over. Baseball, such a funny sport. Wasn't that such a letdown? Am I the only one who felt that way? It's like being built up to do something and then saying, oh, no, can't do it. Can't have it. Skeens after the game said, I don't think I blacked out, but I was pretty close. It's just what you want to see if you're the president of the Pirates. In a big game, don't you worry. He's going to be fine. He's going to go full Will Ferrell from old school. He's going to black out. He's going to pitch, and then he's going to come to and meet the media. I think Paul Skeens may be more famous now than Shohei Ohtani. Is that even possible? I'm not going to go with that's possible. I don't want that to be possible. Shohei Ohtani has been doing it for years. Why is that the worst thing that I've ever said in the history of the show? Because Ohtani's way more famous than Skeens? Internationally, for sure. But let me tell you something, Coca. You're not right. I've got friends who have no interest in baseball, no interest in sports whatsoever. I'm sure they have interest in friendship. But that said, they've heard of Skeens and Dunn in sort of a Kelsey Swift light scenario. And when I talked about the Ohtani gambling scandal with them, because I was going over a segment, hey, let me try this out on you. It was, hey, I didn't hear about that. Who's that? What's that? Ohtani's that baseball player, right? I think you'd be shocked how many Americans. I don't want to play the Instagram game or the social media game. Do we know for sure that Ohtani has more followers than Dunn? I assume he does because we're talking international. But from a U.S. standpoint, I'm going to bet Dunn is ahead of Ohtani. How about that? So Ohtani gets up and hits a 3-run bomb. It was unbelievable. It was a mistake. That's the only way hitters can hit now. Gives the National League a 3-run lead. People are thinking that my pick of the day is going to be wrong, but it wasn't. I just kept watching these pitchers. Mason Miller comes out. He got a lot of attention yesterday. Mason Miller's the Oakland A's closer. I think he's 14 years old. He throws 120 miles an hour. Just nasty and dirty. People were all over the Intergoogle. This is the last ever All-Star for the Oakland A's. It may be, but you never say never. I don't think Oakland's going to stay in Oakland because they're going to Sacramento. We're actually going to talk about that later on in the show. I think we may get to it. There's a tease that Coca loves. Did you focus on the end of the game? Did you make it to the end of the game with Emmanuel Clase, the closer for the Guardians? Do you know he has the most saves in MLB over the last several years? Do you know that his stuff is electric? He has this cutter, this Mariano Rivera cutter that is just hard to imagine. And he's saved 2 All-Star games already. They just kept the Suarez from the Padres, Hoffman from the Phillies. Even Tanner Scott from the Marlins looked like he belonged because he's good. Oh, is he going to be a good trade deadline target? He's the exact guy that I would overpay for. Lefty, throws hard, good command. Looks like he's got a slow heartbeat. One of my famous deadline overpays, would I do it for Tanner Scott? I probably would, because he's going to lengthen your bullpen and shorten the games. But that's my biggest takeaway from the All-Star game. It wasn't Skeens. It wasn't Ohtani's home run. It wasn't the American League winning for my pick of the day. I would say my takeaway was that the pitching has gotten so good in baseball. People wonder why is average down, because everyone's looking for home runs and everyone's getting down on the knob and they're not interested in singles because the analytics people say home run, strikeout, that's where you want to be. Don't waste your time trying to hit it in the gappers. I think I have a different view, which is these pitchers are so good that the best you can hope for is a mistake, and then the best you can hope for is that you actually hit the mistake and it drops or goes out of the ballpark. People were critical of Mark Kotsay being a coach of the American League. Why do you reward a team that stinks, a market that stinks? I don't agree. The way that works, the All-Star managers are the managers of the teams that make it to the World Series, which is why you had Diamondbacks and Rangers as the managers. You had Bochy and you had Lovello. The managers, just to make it clear, are not making the starting pitching decisions. They're not making the lineup decisions. For crying out loud, stop saying it. It's not true. What you can say, if you want to compliment Boch, is that he and La Russa are the only people in the history of the game to ever win an All-Star game in both leagues. That's it. But the way it works is the manager does have one bit of power. Of course, it gets checked with the commissioner's office, but the one bit of power is they get to choose other managers from other teams and reward them by naming them coaches of the All-Star team of the particular league. Of course, the entire coaching staff who won the pennant or World Series, Rangers, Diamondbacks, the entire coaching staff is in the dugout. The entire coaching staff gets to be coach at the All-Star game. But the manager always gets 2 to 3 maybe picks. Don't forget that Mark Kotsay is a good guy. He's captain of a sinking ship, there's no doubt, but he's also a good guy. I was thinking about Will Middlebrooks a bit. We went on CBS Sports HQ after the game, Coco. We did a segment. And we had a pick maybe last night, 2 nights ago when we were doing the home run derby. We were asked to choose our MVP and who would win the game. We both had the American League winning the game. I had Jose Ramirez as the MVP, and I thought that Will had Duran as the MVP. He hits the 2-run homer off Hunter Green of Cincinnati, who's no schlepper himself. And I say, you're going to win this MVP. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, Duran just homered. And he said, I don't have Duran. I had Simeon. Well, there you go. I totally forgot. I guess I thought he'd do a Boston thing. Bostonians had a tough night. You got Tanner giving it up, but you got Duran getting it back. Is it cool to you the way the All-Star game is? What would you change? Make it faster? It was a 2-hour, 20-minute game. Make it closer? It's a 5-3 game. More pitching changes, fewer pitching changes, more at-bats for your team's All-Star? That's where I am. Look at the box score today and take a look at all the people who got one at-bat, struck out. Done. Your day's over. If you're a fan of the Washington Nationals, you wait all game and your guy gets in and strikes out, and that's it. I think if I had to tweak it, I would make the roster smaller again because it's way easier to get more people in when it's a smaller roster. And there's definitely pressure, though sometimes, don't tell anyone, Coca. Sometimes we would speak to the commissioner's office and we'd speak to the All-Star coaching staff and say, our guy, no, please don't. One pinch hit, that's it. No pitching. Save him for extra innings when there were extra innings. Save him for some situation where there's a blowout in the middle of an inning. But we'd prefer you not to go to him. That's standard, folks. Totally common to be in touch like that. We're just worried about injuries. We're worried about exhaustion leading to injuries. The schedule, how do you think, did you watch the beginning of that game, Coca, where they filmed and had the commercial for the Cowboys and they were riding some sort of rodeo? Did you see that by chance? Well, I did. When do you think they film it? You're right. They film it when the guys get there for All-Star weekend. They all come in Sunday. They have BP Monday, and the game is Tuesday. You don't have a lot of time to film these things. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of stuff going on. So it's not like there's no activity for the players. But that said, The fewer players, the more opportunity there is for the players who are there to actually play and substantively play. And here's the other funny part about the All-Star game, and another way that I could not get through to anybody. It's the strangest thing. The fans vote in starters in the All-Star game. You take your time to go online or punch ballots in the old days. There's an entire show of an hour that reveals. There's stages of how you get to the starter. You get to finalists, then you vote again. And then before you know it, they're out of the game, and the rest of the game is being played by the bench who wasn't voted in by the players. I think the rules should be in the All-Star game that you can be subbed back into the game. The problem is the players don't want it because the majority of players bail before the end of the All-Star game. It was noteworthy that Paul Skeen stayed after to do a press conference. We had to coordinate so many people exiting the stadium in 2017. It would blow your mind. I'd make them all stay to the end. What's the big deal? Then you can get on the PJ. Nothing personal pick of the day. We told you to take the American League. We are back to 10 games under. I cannot believe I'm celebrating 10 games under at 92 and 102, but I figured out what this is. This is like the beginning of what I can describe as a moral victory should I choose to. It's being down by 7 runs in the ninth, putting up a 5 spot, and then saying, look at that. Look at the fight this team has. An L's an L. There is no reason. There's no difference. But a W is a W. We have no pick for Wednesday, but we're going to sort of sit in the 10 under and then try to. That's like when you say in basketball, you got to get it to 10 with 5 minutes left and take it from there. Or in baseball, when you're down 5 runs, just get within 3 runs by the 8th inning. That's all you got to do, and then you're there. The other thing about All-Star Weekend that always made me smile was the commissioner has another media availability. Rob Manfred met the media, and he talked about myriad subjects that interested me. And I want to go 4869. Hi. It's David. All right, I'm good. I want to go through some of the things that the commissioner discussed because we're going to have to revisit these things. I promise we will. But we're going to start some coverage now. Let's start with something easy. Something that's not going to be a huge problem to implement. And I'm talking about the challenge system for balls and strikes. There was a confluence of concepts here, and people are a little confused. Challenge system for BNS, balls and strikes, is not an ABS. It may give you IBS, but it's not ABS. ABS is the same as RU, robot umpires. All I keep picturing is number 5 being alive. You are out. Strike 2. Ball 2. You may not argue with me. I am a robot. How would that work? Do you think that instead of kicking dirt on the plate or turning their cap around to argue brim to brim, like a manager would go out and pull the wires out of the robot? I'll show you. I'm going to decommission you. You're deactivated. Sit, Ubu, sit. It's not happening, folks. It doesn't matter that the new collective bargaining agreement for umpires is being negotiated now, that it expires at the end of 24. None of that matters. What matters is that there is no momentum from players or owners. And it's more important what the owners think than the players, because the owners have the majority of the votes to change the rules. And frankly, in a collective bargaining situation, you can give notice of something you're doing, not do it for a year, and then just do it. And it's totally legal. So baseball could clearly say to players, we're having a challenge system. We're having a robot system. We are changing X and Y to Z. and the players can protest, but management has an opportunity to give you notice, wait a year, and then do it. Rob Manfred was pretty clear about timing, saying, I don't have any timing. We've got our challenges with technology. He said we're going to potentially test the use of robot umpires as part of a challenge system during spring training next year. So does that mean you're challenging the robot? Or you're challenging the person who's getting fed information by the robot? My view is I like to see umpires on the field. It's not a tennis match. Don't need to get rid of all lines. People and little guy holding the net. Have you ever watched that in tennis? He's sitting there with his hand on so he can feel the flick. He's looking right, left, right, left. He gets home and he's on disability. His neck hurts so badly. Left, right, left, right. Let. Second service. How about the uniforms? Golly, were they bad. Do you ever think about products when you see them, or TV shows or commercials, and say to yourself, what is the level of approvals? Is it one level? Is it one guy in his basement in his skivvies doing his best incel imitation saying, I like that one, run it. I love the look of that, print it. If only it were true. The All-Star jerseys were approved by, I don't know, 40 people. Did anyone look at the All-Star jerseys and say, we really did our best here? We are capturing the essence of Texas with the colors that we're choosing. Just look at the Texas flag. Did anyone stop to say, hey, can we put that on a mannequin that looks like Aaron Judge? Can we just check that if you don't mind? Just shove it right there on the mannequin, right there in the front of the store. Strip the mannequin of the Hugo Boss and put the unis on, please, right now. Don't worry about the Armani shoes. Just leave them. We're focused on the unis. You're supposed to do that, much like you're supposed to keep your national anthem singer from being drunk while performing. But it seems to me that these uniforms got through some sort of design. The way we would be told about a design change, we'd be put on notice by baseball. They'd send a memo to all 30 teams. Dear presidents and owners, we have a uniform in mind for this year's All-Star Game. We wanted to give you an advanced look at it so you can be in the know and pretend you're cool at parties for knowing crap that other people don't know, think they want to know. Then when they have a chance to know it, they forget it immediately. Uniforms were terrible. Rob Manfred talked about it. He said, hey, to the extent that people are talking about it, we're going to listen. We're going to listen. All right. Rob Manfred, after 2 subjects, you've got a wait to see. 2 of them. Book them separately, Coca. Is anything working? Can you hear me? Coca, you there? We're live. I'm so frustrated again. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. I don't know what camera thing I would have turned on. Oh, the motion tracking? Oh, I did. Crikeys. Sorry, folks, if you're live in the Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. We're live. This is what happens. Wait to see. I got 2 for you. These are 2 good ones, actually. I'm going to bring back an oldie but a goodie, one that I lost. This is the best part about having your own show is I can go to davidsamsonpodcast.com. I can look at every one of my wait to sees, and I can say to myself, you know what? That is horse hockey. I should have won that one. That's what I'm going to do today. The challenge system will fully be in place for 2026. Wait to see. I think my last one was for 24 or 25. I'm putting it back by a year. It's funny. Tony Clark had a few things to say about it. The players are going to have to take a look. Rob Manfred said, hey, I'm not there yet, but we're really going to look at it. Let me tell you something. They're there. There is a there. They need the challenge system. It's not going to delay the game. The games are being played in 228, averaging 234. It's a millisecond for a challenge. Do you think the tennis matches go longer because of their challenge system? Challenge. There it is. Technology not knowing with the strike zone, and that's another bunch of horse hockey. Of course, there's a strike zone written inside the rule book. We went over it as a competition committee. This is the damn strike zone. Period. I don't want to have to scout umpires to tell me which umpires call high strikes versus low strikes. I want umpires just to call strikes that are strikes. Wait to see. Bonus wait to see time. Cue the music, Coca. Regular uniforms are back for next year's All-Star Game. Whoa! Epic. Meaning players will wear the uniform of their teams. There'll be a nice all-star patch. There'll be some cool hats. But Rob said that he's listening to the feedback. Well, if you're really listening to the feedback, guess what? You got to change the unis. They're going to do it. Wait to see. Then Rob Manfred got into some business talk. That perked up the old ears. He's trying to tell us how great it's going with them producing games for the Padres, Diamondbacks, Rockies, the teams that lost the regional sports deal because Bally's is bankrupt, the teams that had nowhere else to go because they didn't want to go the scripts over the air route. Hey, look at me, Louie. So they went to baseball and said, help me, please. And baseball said, we're going to try to help you, but we can't get you back to the revenue you were getting. We've told you all this on the show, but Rob Manfred yesterday, in what can only be described as a guarantee that he was not asked to say it, that his PR people didn't know he was going to say it. But here's what we don't want out there. We know it's true, you know it's true, but we're both going to look at each other and not say it so we can go on our merry way as owners and presidents. He said the RSNs were a great business. Lots of people paid for programming they didn't necessarily want. Hell yeah. He went on to talk about the fact that he said to the clubs, we'll be your alternative. We will be the people who will produce your games. We'll lift the blackouts in your area. We will charge $99.99 for streaming, and guess what's going to happen? We're going to have a huge success in San Diego. There's going to be 40,000 subscribers. Hold on, 40,000 subscribers at $100. Let me just see if I can do the math, okay? 40,000 at $100. Wait a minute, that sounds like 40 million. They're not even close to replacing the income these teams got from the RSNs. And that's allocating no expenses at all. None. Which, of course, is not accurate. Of course, there are expenses. So Rob Manfred wanted to tell us out of one side of his mouth, the Padres have almost 40,000 subscribers. We are lauding that. This is working. They are a leader among teams. But then he said, hey, if you want to do an over-the-air deal that you like, God bless you, do what you want to do. If you want us to do it, we'll do it. We'll do the best we can. We'll bid for the business. And then, quote, the RSNs were a great business. Lots of people paid for programming they didn't necessarily want. I'm going to keep saying that sentence because while it is acknowledged and true, I don't love the commissioner saying it because what he's saying is that the Padres streaming is a big success, 40,000 people, but then acknowledging their revenue is lower, which impacts payroll, which you saw the Padres cut their payroll, which bleeds to other teams. There is a real disconnect right now between the value the teams are expecting to get for their product and the value they're actually getting for their product. It used to be that the market was the market and Fox or Bally's would slot us in where we were. We were all living happily ever after, rolling merrily along. And then this disruption happened, which had everyone chasing their tail. I wonder why I said teal. I was looking at Marlon's videos yesterday from the old days. Maybe that's why teal was in my mind, but normally it wouldn't be. Here's what's going to happen going forward. MLB wants to nationalize their rights by 2028 and go into a revenue sharing model that the NFL does, that the NBA is thinking of doing, even though one of its owners wants to absolutely crush that concept or notion. Of course, I'm talking about Jimmy Dolan, but short of Bally's coming up with money to give the teams what they were getting, which is never going to happen, baseball and baseball players have to deal with the very real impact that payrolls must come down, not salaries. You still want to give 40 million to Soto, 500 million to Soto, whatever you want to give, 40 a year for 10 years, 40 a year for 8 years, whatever. 50 a year for 11 years, give them 550. I don't care what you give them. I'd rather you not bail out Boris, but I don't care what you give them. But if you are doing that as part of an increased payroll, because you know that a player can't take up more than a quarter of your payroll, and if he does, that's even heavy. So if you're paying a guy $40 million, you better have a payroll over 160 at a minimum, and that's really not enough. So if you're counting on having a payroll like that because of a signing like this, and you expect the baseball to replace your broadcast income, it's not going to happen. All right, we come back. We're going to review a movie that you asked me to watch. Yes, it was you. And then I've got a correction. Please don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson coming at you on a Wednesday morning, live 8 a.m. on Nothing Personal with David Samson YouTube channel. If you're watching this, great. If you're listening, thank you. Keep spreading the word. If you live anywhere near St. Louis, I'll see you Monday. Come Monday, it will be manic. No Jimmy, no Susanna, but David Samson will be there. No Coca either. Bummer Godol. 7:30 p.m. at City Winery in St. Louis. Be there or be an arch. I want to make a correction before I get to the review. Please listen. Do not change the channel. Do not fast forward. You can if you want to put it on 1.5 speed, but I wish you wouldn't because I'd like to talk normally. Yesterday, I did something irresponsible, and I try with this microphone to never be irresponsible. I thought I knew a story because I had seen a video, and I didn't read about it, and I was wrong. And many of you reached out, and I am not perfect. We have no teleprompter, and we are live and unedited. You get us at our rawest. I said that Jack Black was the one in his band who made a comment about the Trump assassination, and I was just wrong. Jack Black came out with a statement to say I was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. What was said is, hey, let's not miss next time. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. I'm reading his full statement because that's how bad I was yesterday and why this correction is needed. After much reflection, I no longer feel it's appropriate to continue the Tenacious D tour. He was on a tour doing shows, and all future creative plans are on hold. I'm grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. That may be a little overcompensation. I get it, but it wasn't him. Jack, I am very sorry. Thank you for sending me corrections. Keep doing that. They happen every show. One of you sent me that I got Alec Boehm's name wrong. I did. I called him Alex. One of you also was watching Cyndi Lauper's movie and said, wait a minute, that's Lou Albano. Hi. That's 4892. That is Lou Albano, not Lou Alban. I don't know why I said Alban, but I was wrong. So thank you. I love when you come to me at Twitter at David P. Samson. DM me, email me at David Samson Podcast. Do whatever you have to do. Find me. Give me movies. I keep track of the suggestions you make, and I get to them when I can. One of you had me watch a movie from 24 years ago, starring a singer who I don't know other than the fact that she wore some sort of ostrich or penguin to the Oscars, and her name is Bjork. Maybe I've heard a Bjork song, but I can't name one. Was it a goose? May have been a goose at the Oscars. Can't remember. I think the Oscars canceled her, actually. She's a movie star. She starred in one movie her entire life. It's called Dancer in the Dark. David Morse, you've seen him in a million movies. He's in this movie. That guy who replaced Tom Cruise's eyes in Minority Report, he's in this movie. But the star is Bjork. Catherine Deneuve plays her friend. Bjork is a woman who's going blind. Bjork is a woman who has a problem, gets into a problem. The movie is so brilliant, but so difficult. The performance by Bjork, she's the real deal. I hated the fact that after the movie, when I read the reviews and read about it, A, it wasn't received all that well. B, the director, Lars von Trier, who you may know from Breaking the Waves or Melancholia, the director and Bjork hated each other. Like, Bjork left the set of the movie and had to be wooed back by non-direct directors. The director couldn't woo her back. She couldn't stand him. Please go watch this movie. Bjork deserves it. I wish she'd kept acting. That's how good Dancer in the Dark is. It's not an easy movie to watch, but it's worth your time. Bill Shakin wrote an article in the LA Times. It's an article that if you can find it, get behind the paywall, you should read it. It's an article. He's obviously a fantastic writer. It's an article about Vegas and about the A's and about the relocation. Anytime I can talk A's relocation, I'm in like Errol. I absolutely want to talk about it. Are you sure I'm going to be wrong when I said the A's aren't moving to Vegas? Are you sure? Are you sure that it's not 170 degrees in Sacramento and that they're playing on turf without a roof and it's going to be like a microwave? More importantly, that's only Sacramento, which is not even part of this article. The Sacramento thing is happening, but it is a nightmare. They're not close to ready at the moment, but they got time. They got till April. It's only July. It's like a gestation period. What the article was about is players from Vegas and various places in the corners of the world saying, I'm not so sure about a team in Vegas. Bryce Harper talked about the Golden Knights. Bunch of players. Tommy Pham said, if they're good and they win, I guess it could be fine. A lot of talk about how the market's not mature enough. It's not big enough to have every sport. They already have football, WNBA. They want to get an NBA expansion team. Their hockey team won a Stanley Cup. They were native Las Vegans. People in Vegas love the Golden Knights. Huge success. They're so not excited about baseball that they couldn't find even man on the street interviews. Jeremy Taché would have to be on the street for a month to find someone to say, hell yeah, I'm here. I thought the A's were still here. Aren't they here now? That's why I'm a tourist this weekend. I want to see the baseball game. Oh, it's not yet? All right, no problem. I have all the faith in the world. I smiled. John Fisher released a statement. The reason that I'm bringing this up today is that tomorrow is a big meeting in Vegas where the rumor is that Oakland will submit the A's, I should say, the Athletics, I could say, the Oakland A's, I am not allowed to say. The documents presented to the public officials tomorrow, in theory, will be the development agreement, the financing agreement, the operating agreement, maybe even an updated non-relocation agreement. It's going to be the day when everything is crystallized, where we look at that and say, all right, that's not a term sheet of 3 pages. That is a real agreement. When the public officials can say, how could we have time to vote on this? We didn't even have time to read it. There's no way I'm voting on this. No one ever says that, but no one ever reads it. But what you can do is like when you used to get your college acceptances back in the day, you look for thickness. If the set of documents given to the public in Vegas is thick, then they got something done, unless, of course, it's fake thick, like having a wad of bills with 100 on the outside and then all ones. It's eyewash. It could be all this page intentionally left blank. Yeah, if you know what that is. What am I looking for out of the development agreement and the financing agreement? I'm looking for certainty. I'm looking for construction documents, design documents. I'm looking for a financing plan that's not pie in the sky, that is solved, done, and firm with commitments behind it. Don't tell me you're going to raise $1 billion. Show me the $1 billion that you've raised. Bring in the banks. Tell me how much you're getting from them. Bring in the rich guys from table 69. Tell me what you're getting from them. Don't just say you're putting $1 billion in and send Rob Manfred out. Bless his soul, does he take stuff for you, John? Rob Manfred comes and says, man, I got to tell you, I believe in John Fisher. I believe in this move. And when he says he's got a development agreement, or he says he's got partners or money, or he's got the ability, then guess what? He's got the ability. All right. Seems like a little bit of blind faith for someone who hasn't proven it yet, but who am I to say? In my experience, when it takes this long to secure financing, it means that the stadium itself is not projected to generate the type of revenue required in order to pay back the money you get from the bank, even in a refi situation. So then the banks would go to round two. What else do you have, John? Well, how about my shares of the Gap that I got from Dad? Well, that works just fine. There's so many ways that John Fisher could have gotten financing from the bank if the bank was even slightly interested in the deal. And they're interested in tons of deals, even after 2008. They want to lend money to an owner who's building a stadium. They want to lend money to an owner who's putting money into his team. But don't say it's for a 1-year go for a payroll, because then they don't want to give you money for that. I'm incredibly fascinated by what will happen in this meeting, and I promise you that we will talk about it. All right, Coco, play me some music, please.
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
Hello, David. I love when questions start that way. It looks like your favorite owner is fighting with his league again. When I first read this, I was thinking, wait a minute. Jerry Jones, are he and Goodell fighting? Dan Snyder's out of the game. It can't be Dan. Steve Cohen could be fighting with Manfred. That's possible. Who else would be my favorite owner? So at this point, I don't know. Can you explain what Dolan is doing? I said, oh, Dolan, Knicks, guitar playing socio guy. I know him. Can you explain what Dolan is doing, and will it get in the way of the new deals? Maybe Barkley can be saved. He'd be so happy you wrote that. I can feel the love, Lion King. I really can. You want yourself to keep inside the NBA. You need Turner to keep the rights. We don't know whether Turner's going to match the deals that were announced by Adam Silver with Amazon, ESPN, and NBC. Exactly as we said on every show we've been on, it's all going according to plan. There is some concern now that Turner could match. But at the end of the day, these new TV deals are a seminal change in the way the NBA does business. They are 10 steps ahead on the same highway baseball's on, 10 exits ahead, as they try to pool their rights, sell it nationally, sell it streaming, sell it internationally, and then split the money. Well, James Dolan is not very happy about that, and he said, I've got an idea. Here's a little hint for you, James. Whenever you write a letter to owners and they get the letter and open it, they're going to throw it away. If you want to make an impact, go to an owners meeting and stand up and say, my name is Jim Dolan, and I'm not going to take it anymore. What's he so angry about? The fact that the new TV deals have a national game of the week, 9 nights a week? The fact that teams can play 18 national games during the course of a season, up from 12? The fact that he owns MSG Network, which, by the way, is in the same entity and whose balance sheet bolstered the financing, construction, and operation of the Sphere. You hear that, Stu? MSG Network's in the toilet. They're losing subscribers faster than I'm losing hair. That's a huge part of Jim Dolan's empire. In order for MSG Network to even have a chance in the tall green grass, they've got to have inventory. They need games, and they can't have the side-by-side crap. They've got to have standalone games. The rule used to be that you had to give 152 games to your broadcast partner. They would choose which 10 they didn't want to do. And then there were national games for teams, and the RSN network knew it couldn't do those. So then it would drop those days, if those were days they wanted, pick up days they left on the table when they chose the 152, and you got yourself a happy family. They're getting paid by people who don't like their channel. They're paying you. We don't like them. And the players are getting money from us. It all works perfectly. Until James Dolan stepped in and said, I'm really at odds here with the NBA deal, and I've got to let it be known. What he's going to accomplish, je ne sais pas, rien du tout, nothing at all. Not one owner will change his vote because Jim Dolan explained that this new TV deal has a huge holdback to run the league office. Owners don't care. And that this is the end of local broadcast revenue. We are now approaching socialization. We are now approaching a level of sharing that will lead to all of us being mediocre. Keep talking, Jim. Here's the thing. I get why he said it, but he had no math to back it up. He sent a letter on emotion. Adam Silver met the media during the All-Star Game, which totally peed me off, by the way. Have some love for the other commissioners. If you want to one-up your other commissioners, do it during the season, during broadcasts. You want to add a Christmas game, a Wednesday game, a Monday game, a Friday game. I am all in, Roger. Do it. Crush Adam. If Adam wants to crush baseball by having dueling press releases about the great ratings of NBA All-Star Week or the great ratings of the NBA and how unpopular MLB is, do it. But don't do a press conference in the middle of the All-Star Game. That's just unnecessary. It's not right. It's not nice. He was asked about the Jim Dolan situation because it's not a small deal. The owners ignored it, but it's still not great to show that sort of trouble in the ranks. And Adam Silver said, I try to keep these issues in the family. That's when I knew he was full of crap, because he certainly doesn't look at Jim Dolan like family, nor does he look at 20 of the other 30 owners. But I digress. Try to keep these issues in the family. Yes, Jim Dolan did send a letter. Thanks. That was discussed certainly at our meetings, really. But I don't think it's appropriate to get into the specifics of what was discussed. Why not? What are we hiding? I've been to owners' meetings. We're not splitting the atom. We're not curing cancer. We can tell anybody what went on. Who rightly cares? I think what Adam Silver meant to say is, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of anything because I hate this guy. I want him to sell so badly that I'm hoping the Celtics buy the Knicks, the owners of the Celtics. Remember, Silver and Dolan have not gotten along in what feels like forever. Dolan is the one who sues his audience, doesn't let people in his stadium and arena. He's the same guy who's in an arbitration against one of the other partners in baseball. Remember the whole the whole Raptors Knicks arbitration that's going on, where he felt he shouldn't have lost. He felt it was not a biased arbitrator. News alert, of course it's not. When the commissioner's the arbitrator of something, when do owners learn? They learn. You're supposed to learn. It's right in the handbook when you get it. Don't go to arbitration against baseball. Don't sue baseball because the commissioner's going to be the arbitrator and you're going to get your ass kicked. It's pretty much told to us. But Jim Dolan's so mad. He's one of those guys. He's just mad at the world. Who wants to go through life like that? Now, he hides behind a mantra trying to explain how wrong these business deals are, these media deals. But guess what? He's focused on the sphere. Maybe he said in his letter, he ended it, it's just business. This is nothing personal.